Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I have my own business, so I wear lots of hats. Now I'm wearing my office manager hat because I need supplies.
Well, Staples has everything you need.
Now I'm putting on my CFO hat because I can't overspend.
And you won't. Right now, buy 2, get 1 free on all 10 Ream cases of paper.
All my hats, and I would like to thank you.
They are welcome.
Staples, everything you need for business at great prices. And now buy 2, get 1 free on all 10 Ream paper cases. In-store only, plus tax where applicable. Ends 4/1/17.
YOLO.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Raw Recap Show, brought to you by the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network with your hosts, Nick McDaniel and Myron Vancher. Well, Myron, here we are again on a Monday night, and as you probably, I just gave away, I am Nick. This is my buddy Myron.
Yes, that's why he addresses me as Myron.
Yeah, that's why I call him Myron, because
it's much more efficient that way. When he curses me, I don't respond as well.
Well, you get enough of that. You get enough of that at home, so I'm not gonna go there. We typically don't. We shy away from those moments. Well, dude, let's be brutally honest with this episode of Raw. It was horrible.
Yeah. One more to save it before the program, man.
It was so bad. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break the trend. We're not even going to talk. We're going to go straight to calls, man, because there was a call on the line. I figure, you know what, we get to our stuff later. We just want to basically let other people talk because that's kind of what we want to do. And so with that being said, let me jump over here. We're going to jump to 952. Looks super familiar, but just in case, what's your name, buddy?
What up? It's Nathan from the Twin Cities.
Hey, good to hear from you again, man.
How's it going, my man? Nick.
It's going, man. We had to sit through that Raw, but yeah, you know, brutally 3 hours.
Yes.
Oh, God. Where do I begin? You know what? For a Raw leading up to a Mania, an episode where not a lot happened, I actually got to say it wasn't as bad as it could have been. The crowd was hot from the get-go. Everyone knows why. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I heard about that on Twitter. 'Cause I was at work till 9, so I just got to see hear a couple of things that people were tweeting about what the crowd was saying.
Oh my God! And I have a commitment every Monday, but not tonight. So I stayed home and watched this from the beginning. And my memory served me as Raw was really took a long time, and it seemed to really drag on. For some reason, I didn't get that tonight, and I knew I was going to. I thought I knew I was going to, just because it's a Raw leading up to a Mania. They can't do a whole lot, but I found it kind of entertaining. It wasn't great. I guess I didn't hate it as much as you guys did.
What was it? Now, here's the funny part: is overall, I thought it was really bad. But you are correct. There were spots in there that I thought were pretty good. But, you know, I'll let you, because like I said, we always want you guys to tell us your opinions first. We can flap our gums all, you know, once there's no call. So you go ahead. What did you like the most about the show? Like, what segment did you really piqued you the most?
Oh, absolutely, Jericho and Kevin Owens, once again. And I knew I was going to. Immediately when I heard about the highlight reel, I knew it was going to be my favorite segment because I'm a huge Jericho mark and have been since I was a kid watching WCW.
Oh, yeah.
But
apparently so has Kevin Owens.
And that's probably why it spoke to me the most. It's because I was that kid, with the WCW Raw, Monday Night Jericho shirt on in his basement. And the idea that, he DM'd him on Twitter. By the way, how real are those direct messages? You know that those are real. They have to.
Oh, no, they were there. I remember when that happened. That was actually a big deal when it happened on
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's that segment. To me, that segment was great. I got Joe got a chance to come out, but not overshine the segment. Debuted a shirt that looked like that was good stuff. I love that. Jericho is so over, and he's been over for a long time. And what looked like he was his promo, it seemed like he was burying Kevin Owens just because it was so good, but really he was putting over Kevin Owens more than ever.
Yeah.
And scumbag Kevin Owens is the best Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I especially like him in
scared heel, get out of the ring, hiding behind Jericho. Kevin Owens is not what we wanted. We finally get scumbag Kevin Owens, and life is good on the feud between Y2J and Kevin Owens.
I think I'm looking forward to that match more than anything else on WrestleMania right now.
I think you're right, and I think most of the universe, as they say, agrees.
It's the only one I can really connect to. Because, I mean, look at some of the stuff they've got going, and it's like, ugh. Well, I don't understand that, or I don't want to see that. So, now, I missed the setup for the Reigns Braun rematch thing. So what was the deal with that?
They hyped it all week.
Okay.
Yeah, they were going to give him a chance to get his revenge based on that beating, that little slam he took last week.
Right.
But we already seen this.
We sure did. But this week we got the chance to see Strowman get chokeslammed for whatever reason.
Well, and also you get to see how bad it hurt Taker to chokeslam him. Because, I mean, I thought when he turned around, the look on his face, I think it was more than just knowing he was about to get speared. I think it was knowing that he was hurting like hell, or he pulled something doing that chokeslam.
You thought that was a shoot wince that he had?
I think it was a little bit more than work. That was to me, that looked like actual pain.
I hate to admit, but I think you might be right.
Because
you could see it, and then you could see him try to turn and get up, kind of, quickly. Yeah, it really hit that kind of hit me in the chest a little bit as a someone who's been watching Taker forever.
With that win, that leads me to something we talked about yesterday. God, I almost said Sunday. You can tell my days are blurring together at this point. On yesterday's show, we talked about should it be Taker's, should this be his last match? Should he retire after this? And I think we're signs. If this was a shoot thing, then I would say, yeah, it's probably a sign it is. I mean, that's just would you agree, Myron? I mean, that's what I think.
Well, I mean, he's going to have to go to a full match with this thing with Roman. I mean, and it's not going to be the main event, but he's going to be in a big spot on WrestleMania, and they're going to expect a full match out of this. It's not going to be one of those things where you're going to run out and get 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to be a big deal. And that's what terrifies me.
Yeah, well, Nathan, if you agree, I mean, my thing is the last few years, people don't want to admit it. A lot of Taker's matches have been smoke and mirrors. It's, high impact move.
Oh, absolutely.
Rest. High impact move, rest. So I think we're probably going to get because, hey, that's probably going to go into Roman's wheelhouse just as good as it is Undertaker. So I think that's what we're probably going to get.
It would help Roman.
It's unfortunately seems to be the case that you're probably right. They will do some showmanship where they cut the lights and they have them, they're going to do some things to kind of protect his durability and his age.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not, it's not WrestleMania 25 anymore. He's not going to go flying off the top rope. Absolutely not. But I think that Roman works a style that is more suited toward Taker, so he does have that going for him, like you said. And I don't know. Everyone's hating the match and the idea of the match, and I actually kind of like the idea of it. I'm kind of a mark for tonight's Raw, I got to admit, for whatever reason. I didn't hate it.
If they use it to accomplish a goal where Taker finally puts Roman over and makes Roman super extra hated, it'll work. But they just can't waste this. This has got to be the storyline. It's got to work with it.
They're definitely going to waste it because they already booked or reportedly booked Brock Taker next WrestleMania, and I don't know if that's going to happen or if that's true, but that's what I've seen online is that they're going Lesnar Taker Roman Lesnar once again for next year, and I don't know how much truth there is to that. I think Meltzer and Alvarez talked about it, but if that happens, they're not going to turn Roman heel and then turn him back to being babyface at next WrestleMania. I don't see it happening.
Well, okay, Nathan, go into the archives, download yesterday's episode, because we actually talked about it. And I think where you like that plug there, because we talked about this yesterday, and it actually was what I think could possibly happen. You can turn him heel now, and you've got a whole year to get him back. But my theory was, who's to say we're not going to have, would be very doable in the grand scheme of things when you think how much people like Brock Lesnar, you could see heel Roman versus babyface Brock.
That's not out of the realm of possibility, but would you think Heyman would still be with him?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that it's, you know, the rumor is that if that's the match, then that means you're looking at quite possibly Brock Lesnar carrying that belt for a year. You know, and
that is true.
And putting the prestige on it and making it mean something again. Not that it wasn't Kevin Owens' fault. It was the way it was booked, and they're not going to book
Finn Balor's fault
like that.
Just kidding.
Well, you remember the old days back in the territories where everyone knew Flair was the champion, but you didn't see that belt. You didn't see Flair. When he came into the territory, you saw him, or something special was happening, and you saw Flair. But you didn't see him on a regular basis. You didn't see him day to day. You know,
see him in a Snickers commercial with Sheamus.
Right.
Yeah, nowadays he's exposed everywhere. God Almighty.
Yeah, but
doing chicken commercials.
Yeah, but what we're talking about though is apparently the rumors flying around is that Brock's got more dates on his last year. So if he can at least, if he's got, you know, let's say 20, I don't know, let's call it 30 dates in the entire year. You know, one of those he defends the title every month at a pay-per-view. Or I joked about it on yesterday's show and said, why does he have to defend it every month? If he can sit there and make the same argument he made last time, you don't have a viable contender for me every month. You know, it'd be tough.
That would work until the Smart Mark fan base, tweeted their displeasure.
Even if he goes every month, that you can still pull it off. And, a couple episodes of Raw here and there where he has to make appearances or whatever, and just make like I said, go back to it. It just was special. You're not going to see him every week. He's the champ. He's there to fight, and that's it. He's not there to talk. Heyman still pops up on TV, talks for him. It just happens that way, and I'm okay with it. I mean, because like you said, they're trying to build that belt back up. There's nobody other than Brock in the grand scheme of things, that's going to put that much prestige on it over the stretch of a year, if he carries it for the whole year. Just my opinion.
Well, then that's left. What's left is what do you do with Balor then? If you have Brock have the belt for a whole year, then what's Finn going to do?
Oh, that's
because that belt was basically made for Finn. They even made this thing red.
Yeah. I mean, there's, it is. But now there's rumors flying around that Vince is, he loves Goldberg and he wants him to hang around after Mania. I was reading that.
It only took him over a decade, but he finally comes around on Goldberg, right?
Well, he doesn't always make his opinion up overnight. It's Vince.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, but the beauty of it is that they're talking about, even after Mania, even if he stays, he may disappear until SummerSlam. Like go off TV, kind of pull a Brock Lesnar. I mean, he's just there for 3 or 4, 3 pay-per-views a year or something like that. Just kind of keep with that novelty act, the nostalgia kind of coming, and because it's wearing off a little bit. I think some people saying it's not. It is, and it wouldn't kill him to go off of TV for a little while and then pop back up. But that's I mean, do you agree, Nathan? I mean,
I agree. I think one of the reasons why the Universal Championship lost some of its prestige was combined with Balor getting hurt and giving it up the following day was the fact that we didn't get a whole lot of booking and movement with By movement, I mean momentum, not necessarily changing, with the United States Championship. It had kind of a Rusev-Roman feud that was decent enough that it ultimately accumulated with, Roman Reigns being choked with a chain during an accolade, which I thought was the jump the shark spot of 2016 back at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, the worst part about that was Reigns turns around, hits him. I can't remember what move Reigns hits him with, and then pins him. And it's like, I didn't see that happening. Where did this come from? Yeah, it was a total disappointing finish for me.
I think that booking kind of killed Roman for a lot of people. Like, I want to like him so much. I think he's good. I think he's good enough. He puts on consistently good matches,
and he's getting better. He gets better.
Yeah, Roman's good enough to be a main event guy. Absolutely, he is. But he gets booked into the ground, and creative kills him so much. It's really unfortunate. And it seems like from what the dirt sheets say and all that is that he's such a company guy, and he just wants to do his job. But sometimes you just gotta turn him loose and let him kind of do his thing, because he's not a sympathetic character. He never was. When he was a heel in NXT, that was when he was at his best. When he cut that line on the crowd, to take a sip of your beer and shut your mouth, that was the most natural he sounded. He's not a sympathetic babyface, Sami Zayn type who we're going to get behind. He's a natural alpha bully type that knows he's better looking and stronger, and they need to embrace that at some point.
Do like a Ric Flair type thing. I'm better than you. I'm better looking than you.
Definitely.
I've got more money than you. Get him some charisma, man. Get him some mic work training. Let him sit. You've seen what they've done with the Big Show and Braun Strowman. You've seen what they've done with Kane and God, what's the guy's name? I can't believe I just drew a blank. Kane and the young guy won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal last time.
Oh, Corbin.
So he's worked with Kane, and they put Big Show with Strowman, and both of them have improved on the mic and on just totally became better from it. He needs to work with somebody. He maybe needs somebody like Heyman for a little while. There's got to be something they can do with him.
I think Corbin has improved immensely.
Yes.
Over the course of the last year, immensely.
Yes. I couldn't stand him forever, and now they're actually getting some good work out of him. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard. We look at these younger guys, and we want to see them do work like the old guys did. That we want to see them be able to talk like The Rock, and we want to see them, bring you in like Foley used to. And they just don't have it because I don't think they let them improvise enough on the mic. They're just actors.
I agree.
They're reciting lines. They need a little bit more. They need to work with veterans. And yes, Reigns has been in the ring quite some time now, but he's missing a few things, and they really need to figure out how to do something about that. Too much money put into him for him to flounder like that.
And you're right. He's never going to be, Roddy Piper when it comes to talking, but he has gotten better. It sounded less scripted. The universe, God, I hate using that. I'm just going to say the fans hate him right now. With you booked him against Undertaker, of course you're going to hate him. But the thing is, when you talk about him being Flair saying I have more money than you, he's done that on social media. He's tweeted at John Cena or at Kevin Owens saying I make more in merch sales than you. So he's done heel stuff off the camera, which people have responded to, but they don't let him do it on TV. It's backwards. They need to pick a side with him, and the fans pay so much attention to what their favorite superstars say or tweet or whatever it is, they pay just as much attention to that as they do when they watch on TV. So I think they need to get some direction with him. And Kevin Owens is a guy who has stayed consistent.
Oh, his social media.
I don't know why they can't do that with Roman Reigns.
Maybe pair Reigns with Jericho for a while.
Jericho loves Reigns. He's a fan of him.
Yeah,
yeah,
get him to work with
It'd be
Jericho.
a great idea.
Jericho knows the ropes. He knows how to talk. Probably the best talker they've got right now.
Problem is
absolutely.
Jericho's packing after Mania for a while, so that would be rough. But so I mean, Reigns, in the grand scheme of things, we talked about yesterday, we're all hoping that Mania is his big heel turn. We've been wanting that forever, just like we've been, at this point, it's becoming the new John Cena heel turn. Is everybody wants it. We don't think we're ever going to get it, probably. But I hope we do. I hope that's the night that, and even Jim Ross brought it up. Jim Ross addressed it and said, man, maybe that's the night he takes a chair to take her. Maybe he, the low blow to take her to win, something to take, to win it, to prove it's his yard kind of thing. And then, then we got to heel Reigns for a long stretch. And once the fans jump behind him, because he's cool, because he would, like you said, Nathan, he'd be a great heel. He would just be a natural one. And then the fans.
Oh, he's a natural heel.
Oh yeah, and then guess what'll happen? All the people that hate him will fall in love with him.
Yeah, and they'll start buying the new Roman merch, which is some other tagline, the fall of the Roman Empire, or whatever.
Yeah, and then when they want that baby face turned down the road, it'll be a whole lot easier than trying to ice skate uphill like they're doing right now.
All this time, it's been proven that that's the way to do it. You want to make them a babyface, you got to make them a heel. You want to make them a heel, you got to make them a babyface. It works back and forth like that. So I think it's going to be what they have to do with him if they really want him over long term. It's one thing to sell merchandise to women and kids, but I mean, if you're going to write a program and build your company on him, you can't cash in on them short-term sales.
Well, let's jump to a specific topic that I wanted to address because, I don't want to get I say, hey, let's creep 30 minutes into the show and let's not address it. But let's go ahead and address it. Mick Foley, no longer general manager of Raw. He gets the official boot this week by Steph. And, Myron, we all know that you have this big man crush, if you want to call it that, on Mick Foley. That's your guy.
Foley's always been my hero, man. He's been my number one. I've always admired him inside and outside the ring. He was the guy that did the most with the least. He didn't have talent, he didn't have strength, speed, he didn't have looks, but he knew how to be a wrestler, and that's why I've always admired him so much. The firing, I know, is just a work. He's going to go off and have his surgery now, but anytime you do that to a legend, it's a heart-wrenching thing. Just even to know it's a work and see it. So.
It's especially with his being the surgery, and that's why he's going to be gone for a while. That kind of wrenches at you. So Nathan, we're gonna. If you've got a minute, I'm knocking down Miller Lights over here while we're doing the show. Clearly, you saw from the So I'm setting the questions up, man, and while y'all talk, I'm just chugging them down. So you keep rolling.
We gotta get one of those sponsorships like Conrad got, man. We'll get us a cooler or something out of them.
I'm trying, man. That's why we keep tweeting them, man. The difference is, Myron, you're a can guy and I'm a bottle guy. You can't hear me open mine near as well as when you open yours. Maybe when I turn the top, I'll go open mine. So Nathan, what was your take on the whole Mick Foley thing?
The Foley firing. I thought it was a great segment. Foley did his thing. The crowd did what they should have done. It was one of the few times tonight they did, and Foley was great. He didn't scream too much. He put emotion into it that I marked out too. And I feel Stephanie actually did pretty well. She didn't do the slap, the burying slap that she, I thought was coming for sure. Has anyone ever benefited from the slap? I don't think it's helped anyone in any feud. It's a death slap. It doesn't do anything. But I thought it was a good thing. Foley will be back in some capacity. We all know this. He's too over for them not to use somehow. And, having Sami Zayn come out and defend him, I thought it was a good move because Foley kind of protected him against Strowman back when they had their Iron Man match or 10-minute match or whatever you want to call it. And, seeing Sami stick up for Foley, I thought he's the natural guy to do that. Granted, he got squashed by Samoa Joe, but he'll be back.
I want to see him on creative. That's where I want to see him. He needs to be writing this program because it's not selling right now for me.
Well, whoever wrote this one, I'm going to jump in and give their props on this one a little bit. And before this is over, Nathan's going to convince me that I actually did like this Raw more than I thought I did. Because in this segment, there was a couple things that I really liked. One, I thought it was a proper send-off for Mick. Obviously, he's got to be fired on TV, and luckily it wasn't a beatdown. That was what I was afraid of, was we were going to get like Triple H beating him down and he was just going to be gone. So at least he got to come out, say his little bit. He looked good, tearing up the cards and saying his piece. I liked the Sami Zayn, even in a loss. I know that sounds silly. Even in the loss, he kind of got a rub from a big-time program. So I thought that was beneficial. I thought they'd had some continuity, me being a big comic book guy. Continuity, it doesn't work really well in that world all the time, but it did. We like it when it does. And what I liked about it is Mick walked out of the building. A lot of the key players along the way, he said bye to. Obviously Sammy, standing up for him, and of course, what he did for him with Braun. Then of course Cesaro and Sheamus thanking him for even giving them the opportunity to get them where they were. Now storyline obviously, but Bayley, him kind of giving her chance and so forth. So I thought that was kind of like the writing itself there at least made sense. And so that part I did like. Even with Joe coming out and, dismantling Sami Zayn after that in the match. But the storyline there is that Samoa Joe's the monster they're pushing right now. So that was obviously going to happen. But at least you had the scrappy underdog, Sami Zayn kind of fighting him. So
is Joe on the card? Has he got a match?
That's what I was just gonna bring up.
He does not.
Well, he got 10 matches already on the card. That's already a lot of matches.
And here's the irony. This isn't the SmackDown show, so we don't really address it. But I saw a tweet out or something somewhere that they're giving away the Usos versus American Alpha tomorrow night.
That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah,
it's they've got a lot on the card, and honestly, that match, as far as interest, it's not. They didn't build it. They could have done a lot with that rivalry, but it was gone. So I don't think it's going to have as much impact as it should have. But man, those guys missing out on that is a solid hit. That should have never happened.
I'll give you an example of that tonight. Before we went on, all whopping 6 minutes we had between Raw and before we had to log in and start the show. I mean, you asked me about the Dana Brooke Charlotte segment, and I'm like, dude, they completely pissed away an opportunity. I'm not huge on Dana. I don't think she's ready. I think she needs to be back in NXT. But the powers that be obviously think she needs to be there, or they want her there for that reason. And you literally took that potential, she turned on her coming out of WrestleMania. That could have been something that they could have worked with just to tie Charlotte up for a little while to keep her out of the title picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did they turn Dana face last week randomly to try to get heat on Charlotte? Like Charlotte's pretty over.
Yeah. Charlotte.
She used to be hated, and people would kind of screw with her segments, but she's too good. Everybody came around on her.
Yeah.
Except Eric.
And it's honestly. Go ahead. Going back to the American Alpha missed opportunity. Not only have they not been on TV, but the SmackDown back on the March. God, what was it? When it was in St. Paul, the one that I went to.
Uh-huh.
The morning of that show, Gable, who is from Minnesota and wrestled here at the amateur level, did a radio spot at one of the local FM stations to try and promote SmackDown. We're like, oh, awesome. My buddy that I went with later that night, one of them texted me and said, hey, Gable's on, the station. Like, oh my God, we're gonna see American Alpha tonight, and they didn't do anything with it. That was the night that, Randy committed several felonies but still got cheered. So it's like, why would they not have an appearance with them or say, hey, they're still the tag champs, remember that? Like, at least get the audience to recognize the belts.
Yeah. We went to that. We went to the Christmas tour, and we saw it was the 29th or so here in Atlanta, and they were running that program where they had the tag team smorgasbord or whatever they call that, where
the tag team turmoil, where they
32-man tag team.
Yeah. And they rolled that same match at a pay-per-view, the last SmackDown pay-per-view. And it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't interesting then. It's not interesting now. That's the weakness of SmackDown is the tag team division. They're missing the ball on it, and it's like they've done everything else so well, but that one's a mess. Those guys came out of NXT hot. They had a program with them, and it just disappeared. That's why if I was the Revival, I wouldn't be in a hurry to come up, because there's not a good as far as tag teams coming up from NXT, there's not a really good track record.
Let me tell you the solution to American Alpha. The solution to American Alpha is you bring in Kurt Angle in some capacity to give the rub to American Alpha.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. He's going to be their manager. They can do an Olympic theme, like the Varsity Club back when Kevin Sullivan had that faction.
Exactly.
But the problem we're having here is the rumors are flying around he's going to be the GM of Raw.
That's fine. He could do that, but he makes an appearance at SmackDown, referencing whatever, Daniel Bryan, Shane, AJ if necessary. But then he goes to Raw, because Raw's a better show, and he pumps up Raw in that capacity.
Yeah, the rumor flying around that I think will be the shot in the arm, and I think we talked about this yesterday as well, is there's a rumor flying around that the New Day may be getting moved to SmackDown.
Trade the New Day for American Alpha and AJ Styles.
No. I'm saying the New Day may go and play the trade of AJ, and therefore you pick up. And we were talking about yesterday, and I said maybe the Kofi Xavier is the team, and they finally pull Big E to be the singles guy. So they'll still have their group. They can still kind of float around, but start pushing Big E as the single, because we all know if there's anybody in that group that Vince thinks has got the look of being a singles guy, it's Big E. It's not the other two.
No. Well, he's had Kofi Kingston forever. I mean, he's been with the WWE for a long time, and he's had titles. But Xavier Woods was always a bit player wherever he was. He had a good run in TNA.
You really just said bit player with Xavier Woods.
Huh?
Nothing. Go ahead. I was going to say you really said bit player with Xavier Woods, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you have to be careful of what you say about Xavier Woods these last couple of days, too. Their promo was great, in my opinion. They're making me want to see them host the WrestleMania. Which,
that's
exactly
it's going to be the plan. Vince leaks the page footage to push the New Day to WrestleMania.
There you go. It was all Vince.
You heard it here first. That was me, Austin.
You can tell me anything, Vince. You can blame Vince for the Kennedy assassination, and I wouldn't have a trouble believing it. Because I mean, he's into everything wrestling. So if it involves wrestling, basically, you don't have to convince me Vince did it or was part of it or it was a work. Because I mean, he's all over the place, from restaurants to networks to in everybody's business. I don't know if he the last Page 6 tape I saw, I was wondering who was filming Maddox filming Xavier Woods. So it was
God.
the whole time.
By the way, how badly did I call Stephanie McMahon pitting Nia Jax as her evil heel muscle against one of the babyfaces of Raw? When I called in, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was the call I made, and I think they're listening to us.
Well, we're getting a lot of Bailey massacres. You know?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I think that's been a trend in general, though. I've tweeted back and forth with MSL about this, and it's just, man, you just don't want to be a champion and wrestle on Raw because the odds are you're going to lose.
Well, yeah, and you don't even. I mean, your title's not on the line half the time, so it's just these ass whoopings that don't have any meaning.
Well, that's just
kind of like the club tonight.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, to be a champion, you don't want to be a champion and wrestle on Raw right now because you're going to lose. And Bailey loses, Club loses. I was like, God, this is just a terrible trend they do, and it's not just a Raw problem. It happens on SmackDown as well. But I mean, we all knew they were trying. My thing is, why couldn't? And Chris would probably kill us. Yeah, we have a super fan, Chris Luce. He would probably kill me to say that should have been Sasha, not Bayley.
Taking the loss to Nia Jax?
Yeah, I mean, if she's your champion shouldn't take the loss going into the the pay-per-view. Period. So if anybody's going to take the loss, or something, I don't know. But I
think there's not enough prestige on the championships on Raw. You don't see that as much on SmackDown as you do on Raw.
We could debate.
Why don't you have that match like a month or so ago, or maybe longer, and have Emma come out and interfere, and then Bayley loses that way, or something like that.
Yeah.
Why is Emma not on TV? Why? I cannot believe it.
She's wrestling her.
4 women in the women's division on the biggest roster show they have.
Yeah,
they just switch them around. It's just cannibalism.
Yeah, and they're gonna wear them out. We're not just talking about storyline wise. They're gonna wear them out physically. Somebody's gonna get injured if they're having to perform at the level they've got them at. Hell in a Cell, no holds barred, falls count anywhere. Eventually, that's just gonna wear them out.
To protect them, I say we need to see Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair in a bra and panties in a tub of pudding match. That way they're protected.
Oh, goodness.
You are the Vince Russo of podcast, aren't you there, Nick?
I was just going to say, that's a very Russo angle right there.
Yeah, I mean, we could do the pillow fights if you'd prefer. I can do that. So.
I really enjoy the women's wrestling.
Isn't Summer Rae about to be healthy too from her injured neck?
I've heard that Summer Rae and
they
Emma
could bring back Emma and Summer Rae, and they'd have a much deeper division.
Yeah, I've heard they're working.
SmackDown women's division has like 6 women maybe. And
yeah,
if they get Paige back, it'll
like
be real.
2 more than Raw, and the women's division on SmackDown is interesting, and they have good matches.
Yeah, so you had Summer Rae, you had Emma back, and like I said, you put Paige back in, it's real deep again. That's what I think.
You really think they'll put Paige on TV?
Oh yeah. They're so tied into this movie thing with her family. That leaked out yesterday as well. They're like, she's not getting fired. She's not getting punished because they're not gonna. They're tied together with this Rock movie about her family.
And this might even help the movie.
It probably will.
It'll get
Vince did it.
It
all makes sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me in the least. So let's see, man.
They even did a small angle with it in that New Day segment tonight. He's like, Do you have something you want to tell us? Yeah, WrestleMania's coming up.
Everything's a work.
Oh, the whole thing is a work.
Everything's a work.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Unreal.
So now, I'm going to talk about one topic that we've addressed here before, and, I promised we would get here. The crowd. The CM Punk chant.
Yes, please.
Why is the CM Punk chant so popular? Is it aimed just at Stephanie?
It's aimed at Stephanie and Triple H, for sure. It's not aimed at CM Punk. He's not coming back. Never say never, but he's not coming back.
Oh, I think he'll come
aimed
back.
I don't see it happening. You never say never in wrestling, but I don't see it.
I put it this way: if he takes another ass whipping in UFC, he's coming back because he's gonna. I know everybody says, "Oh, well, he's he's saved his money and did." Okay, let me teach you a little lesson in life, people. You can save your money all you want, but when your expenses keep going out, you kind of need income coming in. It's still a necessary evil to have incoming in. If you don't believe me, ask Steve Austin; he'll tell you so. And I mean, ask Taker, ask anybody. So I just think there's going to come a day when the necessary of income, and I think eventually they bury the hatchet and they work something out. Even if it's not, if they're just on shaky terms, they'll still work something out. Because Vince is, if he's brought Hogan back a couple times, I mean, he got Warrior back. When Warrior came back, I looked at a buddy of mine at the time and said, there will never be anybody that leaves again that I say will come back.
Yeah, I mean, Warrior he shit in his own nest and then came right back when they booked him. It's money. I mean, right now, especially right now, there's no other place to make money. You can go to other promotions and you can wrestle and you can make some money, but you can't make WWE money. There's nobody paying that right now.
Well, he can't. That's the issue. You could say that to maybe Cody, because everybody's saying Cody Rhodes is making, really good money like he was making in WWE, outdoing what he's doing now. But there's no way. There's no one's going to pay CM Punk the kind of money he could get at WWE out anywhere. I don't care if he goes to New Japan. I don't care if he could work for Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, and New Japan all at the same time, and he's not going to make what he's going to make at WWE. And that's just a fact.
Yeah. And he had a huge payout on that squash match in MMA. They set him, he had the guy that beat his ass hardly made anything at all because they had it set up. He had that big contract for it.
Right. And then the reason I bring this up is, I've said this time and time again, and it's not that I'm anti, obviously, because we're marks ourselves, we're fans, but I just get tired. I mean, everybody sat there and said, we were talking about it online on Twitter. Everybody wanted somebody new mixed into the women's division, right? Okay, well, they're going to give you the tag. And the fans are the whole match are CM Punk. And we're like, Jesus Christ, they're giving you a good match. Just shut up and watch it. Get it, embrace it. They were like, this is a time for us to get over. It's the women, and then they're doing it just at weird times. They decide they want to chant this and chant that. And I'm like, dude, you are missing out on a chance to, actually enjoy a match because you're trying to get, we want to be we want to be the show. You are not the show.
That's the thing I liked about that house show that we went to. Because, it was full of kids and marks, the whole audience. Nobody was pulling that CM Punk bullshit. Nobody was pulling the chants where they take over the program. It was people yelling and screaming and chanting for their heroes. It was awesome.
It totally was. When we went to this, Nathan, you would appreciate this. We laughed about it at the time, but that building was probably 70% kids. Because it was just a live event, house show, in the Phillips
Kids
Arena.
were out of school.
Kids were out of school. It was Christmas break. Yes, I said Christmas break, not winter break. But and it was just that when the baby faces came out, they cheered. When the heels came out, they booed. And I was like, Jesus, this is refreshing. And
it was like going to a show 20 years ago.
Yeah. It was just kind of a surprising thing, and I think I wished it was that way more. Like I even tell people, it's funny. I'll kind of tangent, which is what I do best, right? Is I, go sometimes to these local shows where I actually know some of the wrestlers, and I will go there, and I actually, like I said, I will know the guy. He's a friend of mine, and he's the heel. And I will boo him during his match, just to be involved. I will boo the guy. Yeah. I think it just adds to the experience of, the kids that are in the audience. It's not me chanting because I know, he's a friend of mine or I know him and, that kind of stuff. And I just think that's so much more enjoyable of an experience. I mean,
well, that's
what I'm
that's
saying?
the highlight of what he does.
Yeah, I think it's the payoff. I think if the guy's a heel and you're cheering him, I think you're kind of, I don't want to say you're shitting on his work, but you're shitting on his work.
You're not respecting his work. That's why the Miz is so good at being a heel, because everybody is going to boo the Miz because he's that unover. He's convincing as a heel, and people boo him. It's something that they're missing out on these days. Everybody thinks they know everything, and they want to see a 5-star match every match, and people know every behind the scenes thing, but that takes a lot of the joy out of it. That's why I like listening to the What Happened When type podcasts that tell us what happened back in the old days. I don't need to know it all right now. Tell me what happened 20 years ago where I can learn about it. You ruin the mystique. It's like watching too many Marvel movie previews. So you've seen half the damn movie before you go in to see it.
There's that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem too is that Brooklyn loves to put themselves over, like when Seth Rollins and Finn Balor had their match at SummerSlam, and all they did was chant about how they hated the belt.
Right.
Yeah.
And we made the joke of when that match was going on. Okay, so the belt looks like shit. Tell me you've never seen crappy looking titles before. Come on. We grew up in the South. We grew up with regional Southern wrestling. I've seen plenty of crappy belts in my day. Trust me. But you're going to crap on the belt and then, and take away from a match that was a pretty good match. I mean, like I said, it goes back to I think you're ruining your experience by trying to get yourself, when you go home and you're like, oh, we're over, that kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't, it's just killing me. But, so, all right, Nathan, we've chatted for a while now, man. Believe it or not, you've probably been our longest caller ever that was not one of our friends on another podcast that we've had on.
Well, I've got a lot of displeasure to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. You've almost convinced me I probably did like the show, and I didn't think I did.
You worked our way there.
Yeah, I mean, it might be just that it's just 3 hours. I'm live tweeting during the show. So, man, every week, sometimes it's just, oh, God, it's a labor of love. But, sometimes I think I convinced myself I didn't like it. And then you just turn me around and convince me that maybe that I did,
Well, that's very good to hear. I will take that as a very prestigious compliment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So anything else before? I do have another call that's jumped on. You got anything else before we move on?
Yeah. Or? WrestleMania. I think I got good feelings about WrestleMania. I'm cautiously optimistic. It's looking like Taker will put Roman over, and I'm okay with it. I think it's going to be a good match. There are some question marks. The most interesting thing that I'm looking forward to on next week's Raw will be what they decide to do, if anything, with Joe and Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get that match. Yeah.
I hope we get something. They have to. They wouldn't have a promo with Stephanie and Sami and Joe if they weren't doing something. So anyway, that's what I'm looking forward to. And I thought Raw tonight was actually, for the most part, I thought it was pretty good. I give it a B. I give it a B. It was above average for me.
Okay.
That's fair.
Well, we will be here for you tomorrow after SmackDown. We will be here after pay-per-views. And keep an eye on Twitter and Facebook. We're actually going to have a pretty big WrestleMania weekend at this point. We do have one of our shows. The guys are actually going to the show. They're going to Mania. So they're going to be our correspondents down there. We're probably going to do some live, back and forth with them. So keep in touch, man, and we definitely look forward to hearing from you. We love hearing from you, man. You keep it interesting. Keep us from having to talk as much.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Nick and Byron, thanks so much.
All right, buddy.
Have a great night, man.
All right, good night.
All right, so Nathan's dropping off. We're going to jump when that comes through. We are going to jump. The next one is area code 606. What's your name?
Hey, guys. It's Trent.
Hey, Trent. What's going on, man?
Well, I was just listening to y'all, and good show so far.
Thank you, sir.
I can't remember which one of y'all was just talking a couple minutes ago, but I was having the same conversation on Twitter tonight because everybody was just bashing Raw, and there was no need for it. Unfortunately, and my conclusion was that ever since the Monday Night Wars, fans have been conditioned to think that every televised show is going to be of pay-per-view quality, and that's just not how it is. So I was actually somewhat glad when they started bringing back enhancement players just to kind of steer away from that. Because if you go back and look at, some of the majority of the shows, they weren't that good. So there's a certain level of expectation that's not being justified in any way. And so I think the fans, especially the supposed smart fans, are being hypocritical in a lot of ways. So I was glad to hear someone else say that, this isn't, something that you should expect, and why do you even expect it? Because you come for the main event. Same with the pay-per-view. You come for the main event, and everything else is just, gravy. So, so for every match to be, like a main event quality, it's not going to be. And tonight, you had a good match between Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn. The main event was, obviously the finish was predictable, and I wonder why Taker did that little grimace as he was starting to turn around. Was that because, he thought he realized, oh shit, I'm about to be speared, or what was that? Was that him just but either way, tonight's Raw wasn't as bad as previous ones, and God knows how many bad ones we've had.
There's been some really bad ones, and you've got that really good point about the Monday Night Wars being over and us not realizing it still, and that might have been why a lot of people kind of lost their love of wrestling. Is you go from every night where you'd have to watch two programs at once because you never knew what they were going to do, to now you got these predictable storylines because there's no competition. So that's a good point.
I'm glad you brought that up about no competition, because the synopsis I wrote up about it dealt with the fact that the WWE. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it up and I'll just read it to you that way. Just a sec. Let's see here. Okay, here it is. So this was a response I gave to one guy. He's a supposed smart fan on Twitter. He's got 3,000 people, following him and shit. And he's wrong on everything I've ever busted him on, and tonight was no different. So he was just, busting on, Raw being, just a wasted show. So my response is, but isn't that in a nutshell? Ever since the Monday Night Wars, fans have been conditioned to expect a pay-per-view caliber show every night, and with storylines that haven't been overused a million times. But to achieve this, the last of the Highlander in which the WWE currently represents, the reference there is there can only be one.
Yeah.
The WWE would have to forsake the fans in order to appease the fans, or vice versa. Either way, the result would be more of the same sausage being fed through the WWE grinder. Think of the light heavyweight division back during the Attitude Era, or even Brawl for it all. Neither of which built towards something, and that's because the WWE does a few things really well, marketing characters being at the top of the list, along with selling merch. But beyond which, they do everything else either marginally or really, really bad. But you would have to dive further into that rabbit hole to understand the hows and whys. In short, the WWE only brings its A game when there is someone to compete with. Anything short of that, and you get the same kind of sausage with the same type of herbs and spices because it works. Marginally, perhaps, but that is why there remains only one voice in the echo chamber, Vince's. And I think that my thoughts have merit, and especially in the WWE only excels when, and this is looking at it from a historical standpoint, when they had competition or they had an idea that they had to fight. Like the light heavyweight, they thought that they were going to compete with WCW, but then they did the initial run with it, basically what they're doing now with the cruiserweights and also the UK tournament, and they just realized they didn't have a stomach for it, so they're just letting it fade away, kind of like the European title. So unless they have an idea or an entity that they have to compete with, they're just going to throw up something marginal at best, and expect it to shine like they think it should shine. And so for the fans, and I think that's where the greater disconnect lies. The fans want more, but the WWE is successful in giving them less, and they have no real motivation at this point to change their course of direction.
No, they don't have any motivation right now.
Yeah, but that's why I was a fan. I agree when they did the enhancement matches came back, because I mean we all grew up in an age, especially like I said, just from what we watched growing up. I mean, Championship Wrestling from Florida, Continental Championship Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling. You didn't see any really. There were no good matches week in and week out on television. You saw the Road Warriors wrestle the Mulkeys, or you saw Ric Flair. Very rarely, but on Georgia Championship Wrestling it would happen, or you would see the Andersons wrestle two guys you'd never heard of, or something to that effect, week in and week out, because they were trying to get you to the pay-per-view quote unquote later. The live shows, the house shows were where the money used to be. The problem is now is that all of that money's on that they're getting from the network, so they got to provide ratings, and they get. It's some of it's there. I think at some point became cart before the horse, kind of problem is where they hit, and they just feel like they just have to keep. But my thing is, I don't know that it could get any lower. Plopping in a couple enhancement matches up, putting a couple good promos in there, and I think in the grand scheme of things, when you really think about it, tonight the matches were all pretty good. In the grand scheme, I mean, but I wish that now the ones that I wish happened, Charlotte and Dana should have never happened. Kendrick just went over just to hype his feud with so I'm like, okay, that's fine. Aries had to go over Tony Nese because he's going into WrestleMania. We already covered Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn, so we'll. But over the only ones that the one that bothered me the most, probably all the matches tonight, was the Cesaro, Sheamus versus Gallows, Anderson, and Cass. And I know there was all, but I'm sick and tired of seeing champions lose, non-title matches on television, and that's what earns somebody a match. No, if you lose the title, but that's neither here nor there. But you're right. I think I think maybe at this point Vince is trying to, and maybe Triple H, they're trying to compete with themselves. They're trying to, and that's just not going to work. They're going to need somebody else to push them, whether that's, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling. I'm just not a buyer on Lucha Underground, and I'm sorry if everybody that is, but I'm just not a buyer on it. I think that day will come when the TV company, when they just say that's enough. They're done putting money into it. I think Impact's got a chance, especially if Jarrett can get them back on Spike. They got a bigger market. Yeah. Ring of Honor, I just think they're happy in their wheelhouse, and we'll plug some stuff on Ring of Honor. I mean, and that's the funny part is we sit here and we say this, and we kind of have a little bit of skin in the game now, being a Fight affiliate, in the Fight Affiliate program because they cover Impact and Ring of Honor, so we want them to be successful. But hey, that's either here nor there. So I don't know. I don't really know. And short of somebody coming along and pushing Vince, what's going to be the thing that makes them push? And maybe you're right. Maybe in the history of wrestling, it's always been WWF/E. I think everybody looks fondly back on the Attitude Era, and we've discussed this on previous shows. The Attitude Era was so great and it was so glorious. There was a lot of garbage during the Attitude Era as well. Some things hit really, really big, and I think that's where they made it. But there was some garbage on there too. I mean, Trent, would you agree with that?
Yeah. For example, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, icon or mainstays in the WWE lexicon now were motivated by trying to screw with Jim Crockett Productions and just the NWA/WCW. That was Vince's way of just trying to screw with their pay-per-views. So, and that was my larger point was, unless there was an idea, a concept that Vince had to actually just get full on behind, they have no stomach for stuff. But if you really just somehow find your way in Vince's crawl, that's when he's going to, unleash the hounds of hell on you and, come up with something brilliant like, Survivor Series, like Royal Rumble, etc. So, but unfortunately in recent years, and really that comes down to what Triple H is trying to do now with NXT. I've written several articles on this. They're going to have to expand NXT and into regional, not necessarily for television, but just to cultivate new talent and to train them in the WWE, way of professional wrestling. So there's going to be a next, Dallas, a next San Francisco, et cetera, and so it's rebuilding the territorial days, but underneath the WWE umbrella. Unfortunately, they've hit a snag with this larger concept, and what could have been done in 5 years, which is a very short time frame for something like this, it's not going to happen to that extent. But to go back on what you were talking about, who could compete against the WWE, it's really not going to be any that you suggested. And I question, and no disrespect meant, but given the history and the gravity of Impact Wrestling over these past 15 years, I would lend more credence to suggesting that ROH has a chance to compete long before TNA or Impact Wrestling, whichever you want to refer to them as which. But no, it's going to come from New Japan because they're starting off their U.S. tour. They've already started setting dates, and they're really wanting to make an impact in the United States. And it could, depending on how the next 5 to 7 years go with New Japan's influence here in the States, with their shows and ticket sales, it could very well be New Japan that becomes that giant to face off with the WWE. And if not them, it could be the British, where World of Sports is competing or building to compete. They're going to offer a free wrestling show on their basic cable to go head-to-head with WWE programming or even the network. So why would and they're going to host local talent. So, and that's what led to the whole UK tournament. This was Vince coming to the table late and just signing up the leftovers of what were available just to say, hey, I have a presence in this market. I didn't win this fight, but I'm still in it, you know. So and it was a fool's gambit on his part, and it's going to blow up even further as World of Sports does get to the point of competing on more than
I don't want to cut you off real quick, but I think I just heard. Don't quote me. I want to say it was Court Bauer that actually said he's heard rumblings that's been put on hold, that it didn't do real well the first go around, and that may have been put on hold for a while.
What's that?
The British one.
It was the best thing, in my opinion, the best thing they put on in a while.
No. The Wide World of Sports thing they have over in the UK.
Oh.
They were kind of doing their own. They had a program, and it just wasn't put together very well from everything. And I'm going to throw a disclaimer out here. I didn't watch it. Obviously, I haven't seen it. But everything that I've read and seen is that it just wasn't – it was probably the production side of it. It wasn't kind of up to par. I mean, there was just some things that people didn't like, and it was not received very well. So I think the TV stations kind of pumped the brakes on that one a little bit. So that's kind of my only concern, because I think what I'm wondering is just if Vince going to just come in and just outspend in that market, because that market right now seems to be the hotbed.
Well, he signed all those guys to contracts saying they could not appear on televised pay-per-views and internet pay-per-views, which is a pretty big deal for those smaller programs because they're running those internet pay-per-views. I don't know if that's where the future is, but I'll tell you, based on what I've seen, I don't have anything against New Japan, but just the fact that they're speaking English on the English shows makes it a lot more understandable to me. New Japan looked more like the territories like 30 years ago than it did anything that can compete with the WWE. We'll have to see. It may be one of those things where they'll surprise me, but right now I'm not feeling it.
But I think it goes back to the niche inside of a niche that we've talked about before. There's a fan that's what they're looking for, something more presented like a sport, that's more realistic and that kind of thing. So that's a good thing. I mean, I look, if I had my way, Impact would do really well. Ring of Honor would do really well. New Japan would come in and do really well. Lucha Underground would do well. The more companies out there, the more, places guys can go to make money and kind of develop and work their way up. Do I think anybody will ever – the only person I think that's going to take down Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody's going to spend the kind of money it's going to take. Nobody's got that kind of money just to throw away to try to catch them and take them down. They've gotten so big at this point. The only way they're going down is Vince is going to have to fail at some to the point that his company fails. But that doesn't mean you can't have 8 or 9 other, we used to call them territories, whatever you want to call them, other promotions that are doing really well. People can make money on them. And like I said, they can develop their characters and they can, hone their craft before, maybe they decide they don't ever want to go to WWE because they got more they got more creative freedoms and things like that. And then go into the WWE. Some of them, maybe that's their dream, is to get there because they want to wrestle at WrestleMania. They want to be on the card. They want to make the big money. I mean, some people, maybe not. Maybe they, like I said, they just want to have their own freedom. So that's just my opinion, and I take that for what it is. I just don't know that anybody's ever going to catch WWE unless the WWE falls. I think that's who's going to have to take them down.
Well, one factor you have to consider in that regard is there's still outside forces, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a wrestling program. The WWE over the past 5-7 years went through a creative drought. They didn't have enough athletes coming in for them to do anything with, especially when the past 3 years the WWE has been so injury prone, and it's left gaping holes in their lineup. So the WWE had to go out and buy up, so many athletes, and they had these tryouts all over the country, and they're still doing it. because they realize, again, too late, but that where the holes are and where the flaws are, and then Triple H, thank God for him, he actually saved the WWE and not NXT by going out and recruiting, these indie kind of wrestlers, as opposed to Vince McMahon's, affinity or for the big man, So if it wasn't for that change of direction, WWE would have really shot themselves in the foot. So, and that's another reason why I suggested the NXT regional, programs, because it's going to continue to be an issue. Because look at like Will Ospreay, look at Ricochet, look at so many to name. But just those two as examples. They said, no, I don't want to go to the WWE. I'm going to lose all creative control. I'm going to lose my name. It's basically what Impact is trying to do to the Hardys. And wrestlers, the money is so good right now in these various promotions that they don't have to go to WWE just to get paid or just to get noticed. There's other ways of achieving that objective now. So where the WWE was that end-all, be-all, like the Super Bowl, it's not so much. It's the playoff. It's been real.
I think they probably are. Still, though, at some point, I don't know that there's a wrestler on the planet that'll tell you that eventually, and I'm not saying it's now, excuse me, that eventually their goal is to wrestle on the card at WrestleMania. I mean, or for this matter, it might be Wrestle Kingdom. Some may tell you that's their goal because it's just as big to them as it is, to WrestleMania. I just find it, that at this point in time, that's probably not the end goal. And Trent, I'm not trying to cut you off, but believe it or not, our show is actually clocked in at a certain amount of time. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Yeah, because we are. Well, you know what? We're here tomorrow. Let's do that because we'll be back for the SmackDown show tomorrow. Because I have to zip through these plugs in about 3 or 4 minutes before we go off the air. Believe it or not, I actually happened to have been killing some Miller Lights over here, and I wasn't even paying attention to the clock. Typically, it's never. No
problem. Sorry that I took so much time with you guys.
Oh, dude, it is okay. We totally appreciate the call. Trust me.
That's what we're here for, man.
That is what we're here for. I've said time and time again on Twitter, I wished we had 20 callers and we never really had to give our opinions, other than the fact of answering the questions that people asked us. I mean, that's our dream situation, is that these shows, because we do other shows like the one we recorded for yesterday. I mean, that show's it's on iTunes. You can download it. If you follow us on Twitter, you can see it there as well. It's the Sunday 7. I mean, that's us just talking. We're not taking calls all the time on those. So we get enough of those shows that we prefer that we actually get to talk to people on these shows. So trust me, that's not a big deal. We want you to call in, trust me. But yeah, we will catch you tomorrow. And then of course we're here after the pay-per-views and stuff as well. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, you should. I think you do. Right. We've had this conversation before. Because like I said, the Sunday show, we typically don't do live, but we did one yesterday just because we just happened to be in the same room, which we're typically not on Sundays.
Right.
So yeah, catch all those episodes. It's a challenge for you. Download all those episodes, man.
Will do.
Cool. Right, Thank you, sir. It's good hearing from you.
We'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Thank you.
Night.
Anytime, buddy. All right, so Trent's dropping off. So, man, as you probably heard me say, yes, we are running close on time, so we have got to get to the usual. We don't have enough time. Yeah, man, we got to get all our plugs in. So, man, I'm going to knock them out super quick today. It's real simple, man. If you want to talk to us, you can call us. That number was 657-383-0091. Follow us on Twitter, etc., so you can make sure you know when those show times are. But, of course, we're here every Monday after Raw, Tuesday after SmackDown, and, of course, after pay-per-views. But if you can't call in, we totally get it. It's late. It happens. So if you can't call in, send us an email, tappedoutwrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, tappedoutwrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, or as you probably can tell from everybody talking throughout the calls and tonight, if you follow us on Twitter, man, just go to @TappedOutPod because, man, we're always chatting back and forth @TappedOutPod. If you have something you need to shoot directly at Myron, you can find him at
Myron the Mark TOP.
Myron the Mark TOP. I'm Tapped Out Nick. You can find me there. There's a slew of other shows, of course, which we're going to get here. I'm going to put all of those on our website when I've got some free times in the next day or so, which leads me to, if you do want to follow us, I always say go to our website first, tappedOutWrestlingPodcast.com, tappedOutWrestlingPodcast.com. The reason why you want to go there, all the places you can find us are on the left. You can subscribe to us. Just really click on those links, go to there, subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, etc. Of course, our Blog Talk Radio, which is where we're listening to us now.
Yep.
That link's there as well. But of course, to the right, we have friends of the show. We have Leather by Dan. If you need a good belt, that's where you want to get them. We wouldn't tell you to go anywhere else, but go there. Leatherbydan.com. Our Amazon affiliate links are there as well, and that's just real simple, man. If you're gonna, if you like the show, you enjoy listening to the show, click on that link, bookmark that link, and in the future, make all your Amazon purchases through that link, because we get a commission off of it, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Helps us cover the operating costs on having the live shows. That was a new cost to us. So hey, just make those purchases there. That'll help us out, cover these costs, and keep the live shows coming. Also, our big new one that we got this week, the Fight app, the Fight TV app, it's there as well. Click on that link. Just go. It'll take you straight to it. Download the Fight app there. We want you to go through our link. We don't get credit if you go straight to the App Store and do it. Go through our link and do it. We actually get the credit for those. They cover. We were talking about it. They cover Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, pay-per-views, free shows. There's a lot of free stuff on there, man. So it's actually pretty cool.
It's a ton of content.
Yeah, tons of content that you're not paying for, and it'll help you catch up to speed. Because a lot of people said, "Hey, I don't really watch Impact Wrestling a lot, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm always like, "Well, go on there, man, because guess what you can do? You can catch up. You can catch up real simple, and then you can, watch the pay-per-views, et cetera." So other than that, I think I did zip through them pretty good. Facebook. Obviously, I always forget Facebook, right? I get accused of this one's bad. Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network's on Facebook. You can follow us there, send us messages there as well. All the places above. Those are awesome ways to get a hold of us. Myron, you got anything before we get out of here, man?
No, I think we covered just about everything without covering anything tonight.
Well, the beauty of it is that I made the comment to Trent. I'm watching the clock here. We're ticking down, but I'm going to say this before we get out of here. That's actually what we want. If we had callers that call and they would basically ask the questions, talk up the topics. I mean, that's what we want. We want your opinions. We talk enough about ours on other shows and things like that. Literally, the live show is designed for you. It's you to get voice your opinion, you to get your thoughts off of your head. Now, obviously the more calls, we probably have less time, per call, but hey, we'll get to you as fast as we can. And if we started getting, I would make the show longer. I would just go ahead and pay to have the shows a little bit longer, which is not a problem with me. And then of course, that's just kind of what we do. Twitter, Facebook, we like the interaction. We like talking. We like kind of getting everybody's thoughts and opinions. And if you disagree, it's okay. I mean, you probably heard tonight, there's a couple, hey, it happened. Not everybody agrees. Wrestling is subjective, and that's kind of a good thing. So you're going to like people that I don't, vice versa, et cetera. So,
exactly.
Right,
yes, sir. Wrestling, it's very subjective. It's what you feel and it's unlike any other sport or sports entertainment or whatever. Because it's a lot of personal likes involved in it. So
absolutely,
and I'm tired.
Real tired. Raw was a long show. Nathan convinced me I did actually like it more than I thought I did, which is funny. But of course, man, if it's time to get out of here, what does that mean? It's time, man.
It's time to tap out.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I have my own business, so I wear lots of hats. Now I'm wearing my office manager hat because I need supplies.
Well, Staples has everything you need.
Now I'm putting on my CFO hat because I can't overspend.
And you won't. Right now, buy 2, get 1 free on all 10 Ream cases of paper.
All my hats, and I would like to thank you.
They are welcome.
Staples, everything you need for business at great prices. And now buy 2, get 1 free on all 10 Ream paper cases. In-store only plus tax where applicable. Ends 4/1/17.